Live we shall go. Hey, what's and we are live on a not Sunday night. It is Tuesday. Post NXT Great American Bash. What's happening, Kevin?
Post NXT Great American Bash, man. I loved the bash, and night one was fantastic. And we're hoping for, that being a portend of things to come this weekend with what
Indeed.
is hopefully a good premium live event from WWE, which is our main event topic tonight. Doug, we are going to go over every match announced for SummerSlam, and we're going to give the folks our winners and loser predictions.
Let's do it. Oh, wait. Don't we need some news first? Oh, there it is.
We got some news. Starting off here, as we did last week with AEW and TV rights, but we're going a little different slant this week. We're not talking about AEW. We're talking about AEW Ring of Honor. Obviously, AEW has been a lot in the spotlight because of the negotiations they have ongoing for their TV rights. And while ROH doesn't often get mentioned when in these stories about negotiations, the brand has been in the spotlight this week, thanks to Tony Khan doing lots of interviews surrounding ROH's Death Before Dishonor, which was Friday. And one interesting thing that he said that he maybe made a that he basically admitted he maybe made a mistake by not rolling up ROH under the AEW banner. He claimed to be committed to ROH and that this isn't similar to how WWF treated WCW back in the day when they acquired it. Khan said he was adamant that ROH, though, is going to remain a separate brand, but that perhaps calling it AEW Ring of Honor would raise the brand's profile, create more opportunities, more growth for both AEW and ROH, of course. When asked directly about ROH possibly being picked up as part of the Warner Brothers Discovery negotiations, Khan said it was very possible, especially if they go with that AEW branding to increase visibility. So, Doug, last year on our Two Bros Wrestling Award show we do annually, I made the bold prediction that ROH would probably be absorbed into AEW eventually. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. And I thought that, Tony would have to give up on ROH and then take the assets and blend them into AEW. I'm not saying that there's any indication that that's on the horizon, but I will say that this latest news and an admission by Khan that what they're doing right now really isn't working. I mean, I think it's one step closer to ultimately ROH having to fold up shop and be stripped for parts.
I don't know about strip for parts. I do like the, let's keep it branded as ROH. I have zero problem with, let's say, Rampage going the way of the dinosaur, unless us having like a Friday night AEW ROH or something like that. I think that would be great.
I don't know if you got a chance to see Collision on Saturday, but it may have already. Tony's pretty quick, just saying what's on the top of his mind in these media scrums. And then on Saturday night, Tony Schiavone was there. AEW Ring of Honor. He said those words. So it may have already started that they begin working that in when they mentioned Ring of Honor, because, Mark Briscoe was on there and they crowned the, new ROH 6-man tag team champions in the main event. I mean, the line is pretty vague. It's rather blurry, and I'm cool with them going AEW Ring of Honor. And I hope that ROH gets to stay a separate brand and live, especially if it means that I can watch the weekly ROH show without having to subscribe to Honor Club, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, even better. I think the best case scenario would be a Saturday night, AEW ROH, but I think AEW Collision is locked into that for quite a while.
Especially if they end up with some sort of streaming deal on Max, if they can throw in ROH into that deal so people don't have to pay for it. it doesn't really matter the size of the audience at that point, because I think it'll be a definite improvement to whatever they're seeing now and might give Ring of Honor a bit longer of a life.
Yes, let's hope so. Let's breathe some life into that brand.
Let's breathe some life into that brand. Uh, Moving on to someone who did not breathe life into the AEW brand, CM Punk is having so much fun in WWE. He's wanting to stick around even longer. That's right. The consummate team player is wanting to stay on the WWE team, reportedly trying to restructure his deal in terms of both money and time. The deal Punk originally signed, I think with the extensions that have been added to it, was around the 3-year mark. But word is that CM Punk is just happy to be there forever. And that word has actually been used in reports that forever is the word he's using, that he wants to stay there through the end of his in-ring career and then transition to, take over NXT. Not sure how HBK feels about that, but CM Punk, the helper.
And he has such a good track record with the younger kids too. So,
what do you make of him actually being happy? Do you buy it?
He was super happy to come back to wrestling after 9 years away, 8 years away, whatever it was when he joined AEW. So, Punk's happy until he's not, man. And when he's not, he's really not. So.
He's really not. So between now and forever, there's a chance that the bloom may come off the rose.
Indeed, there is.
While on the topic of AEW talent, Bryan Danielson gave an interview this past week where he revealed that his AEW contract officially ends this Thursday, but that the two sides are obviously hashing out an extension for additional dates, including, of course, his main event with Swerve Strickland at the upcoming AEW All In. The reason, though, that you've not seen a whole lot of Bryan as we lead up to All In is that he's banged up, which is, of course, no surprise. Naturally, Bryan Danielson is banged up, but the extent to which he's banged up isn't just TV storyline. In the interview, Bryan admitted that he has, quote, heavy restrictions put on him by the doctors for his All In. No. One of the reasons that he's not been able to participate in the build-up to All In is that the docs are legitimately keeping him out of physical activities that otherwise would have been planned to sell the match in order to get him through the match.
I don't like the sound of that at all, because I always worry about him in the ring anyway. And just the fact that they say, okay, you need to chill, let's reel it back in, because I'm sure he's going to go all in at All In. So
exactly, man. That's what I was going to say next. It's Wembley Stadium. It's a world title match. It's the retirement tour. Smart money is that, and past history is going to say Danielson wrestles his normal 110% match. But we'll see. Hopefully he heals up some before we got a month to get him to that contest, and hopefully he's good to go.
Bree, watch out for him.
I'm inserting some news here that isn't in my notes, but I read this just coming into tonight's broadcast, and it is injury related, AEW related. But as we reported a couple weeks ago, Sky Blue obviously had something go wrong in the midst of her collision match that was called off mid-match with Sheeta. Kyle Fletcher, her boyfriend, posted some photos to social media that would indicate that Sky has had surgery. And the word is that it is a broken ankle. The healing time for a broken ankle can vary wildly. So we don't want to speculate on how soon or how long it may be until we see Sky Blue back in the ring again. It obviously will not be anytime very soon, though. And so we wish Sky Blue a quick recovery.
Absolutely. Get well soon, Sky.
I like that lady. She's talented. I think she's got a big future. So get back in that ring.
Yes.
Some sad news regarding a name from wrestling's past, but John Nord will likely be having his leg amputated in an attempt to save his life. Nord was well-traveled back in the territory days and probably best known for his time in the AWA and world-class championship wrestling in the 1980s, where he performed as Nord the Barbarian. He wrestled both in WWF at the time and WCW in the 90s, where he went by the Berserker. According to his son, Nord had a knee replacement and infection set in, and the artificial knee had to come out and be replaced. But now that the new joint is in, unfortunately, the infection has not only not subsided, but it has now spread to a second location. It is in his bloodstream, apparently. And so the next option is going to be to remove the replacement and hope the infection continues to, abate. But if it does not and continues to thrive, he'll likely not. Best case scenario is he just loses his leg. And so hopefully we wish healing and a positive outcome in all of this for John Nord.
Absolutely. That is terrible. Ouch.
I remember him more as Nord the Barbarian. I remember the Berserker, but that was maybe in the era in the 90s when I was starting to check out towards what would have been the end of his career.
Right.
I think that falls mostly into that gap, but I remember him as an AWA guy.
Yeah, I'm thinking surely I would remember somebody called Nord the Barbarian, but I think I have my mind more locked on the Berserker for some reason.
You remember the Berserker?
I think so.
Oh, wait a minute. It's time for your Mark Henry update.
What? Huh?
That's my Mark Henry Rampage impersonation.
Oh, so. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, probably. See, no one watched enough Rampage to know what I was doing, I think is what.
No, you could have told me that ROH is already on in place of Rampage. And I should have said, oh, my bad. I should start watching.
Mark Henry was last seen on Rampage, where his primary role was to say, it's time for the main event, and then we have the main event. But Henry left Rampage and AEW earlier this year after landing with the brand back in 2021. After more than 25 years in WWE, well, Henry could not stay away from wrestling for long. He revealed in an interview with TMZ his new role, and that is of booker and director of All Caribbean Wrestling, which I had not heard of. But Henry was very quick to point out to TMZ that All Caribbean Wrestling is not an independent, but rather puts on international events featuring legends of the past, which I don't know. To me, that sounds like indie wrestling. But hey, who am I to quibble with the world's strongest man?
Does that mean it's like on like some sort of cruise ship and they go out in international waters and put on wrestling shows? Is that basically what it is?
I don't know. It sounds like. I'm not sure what it is. Henry did say, though, that he's willing to work with WWE in the future. So
sure.
Sure, that'll happen. Yeah. He is going to be working apparently with MLW on a crossover, which is definitely sounds like more the level of All Caribbean Wrestling. But hey, best of luck to Henry. We'll see.
Like a Jericho cruise where they're out in the water in the Caribbean, and it's
an independent. It's more like they're on a pontoon. It's a small ring, very small ring. Not disparaging here. All the best of luck to Mark Henry.
Absolutely, and ACW.
I'm going to end tonight's opening bell with news about some recent nuptials. First, we failed to report last month, and our bad. We had a couple of off weeks and things, so we missed mentioning the wedding of Rhea Ripley and Buddy Matthews. So congratulations to the WWE and AEW stars. And then, of course, this past week, we have to report that WWE wrestler Blair Davenport wed NXT star Riley Osborne. So congrats to them as well.
Hey, wrestling couples.
Wrestling couples. We have a whole episode on wrestling couples back in the archives, I do believe. If I'm not mistaken, around Valentine's Day, we like getting thematic here on the show. But yes, congrats to all four of those individuals. And really, we wish them marital bliss because you don't want these couples squabbling.
Right? No, yeah,
I would not want to be in the middle of any of those for
No, no,
couples
no.
squabbling. But we got some squabbles happening this weekend, Doug.
Squabbles. Let me
It's time to
bring
hit
up
that main
my
event, man.
you hit that main event. I'm bringing up my notes. Why did I bring up the 2020 SummerSlam? That's not right. I'm a few years behind. Wrong notes.
It was a long year for Doug in 2020, so he's just not getting around to SummerSlam. Man, and speaking of getting around to SummerSlam, that's where I'll start. I have to say that, from where Doug and I are, SummerSlam is practically just up the road. Cleveland's not terribly far, as close as especially one of the bigger premium live events is likely to get to where Doug and I live. So I will occasionally hitting the Ticketmaster site just in case. Plenty of tickets to be had. I just not bit the bullet yet, but I have to say it is tempting. So if one of your two bros ends up in Cleveland this weekend, I will be giving a different kind of review when we see you all again on Sunday. But who knows? For right now, I'm planning to watch, as many of you are, I'm sure, from the comfort of your homes, watching non-Olympic coverage on Peacock. They have that too. Apparently, it's not all just Office and the Olympics. But they are hosting. They're hosting SummerSlam this weekend, Doug.
Yeah. Yes, they are, Kevin.
Before we talk about the 7 matches we have announced, I'd love to open with a match that isn't yet announced, but is likely to get added. I know we have one edition of WWE programming prior to SummerSlam on SmackDown. Not saying they will add a match, but all I'm saying is there's a lot of matches that are for championships, and conspicuous from that list is the tag team champions that include a person who is from Cleveland. So come on, that at least on a pre-show or something, surely they get DIY on this bill, don't you think?
Absolutely. Johnny Wrestling has to be on a premium live event emanating from Cleveland.
I agree. I think that it will be the one match that might possibly get added to this. I know Triple H likes to keep things tight with brief cards. This is actually a bit of on the longer side for them, but it is SummerSlam, so that it's very likely that we go a little long.
Wait a minute. Isn't Miz also from Cleveland?
He is. Miz is hosting.
Okay.
Miz is hosting. I think that if DIY gets this title match, I would not be surprised, or gets the title defense, rather. I would say that the Young Bloodline is maybe the hottest current angle in WWE right now, so it would not be surprising to see DIY taking on some combination of Fatu's and Tonga. Well, I guess it'd be Tonga.
Tonga Lola can't do anything. I don't understand.
Well, he's got the messed up eye.
Come on, he was in Gorillas of Destiny. What happened?
I think even though it's a feel good and Johnny is from Cleveland, if they book this match, they haven't held the titles long, but the Bloodline's going over here because I think it gives legitimacy to the Bloodline to start collecting titles, don't you think?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
No offense, Johnny and Tommaso, but I think that if this is booked, you might hope that maybe you just get to come out and wave to the crowd and don't get this match booked.
Right, because Jacob Fatu is going to eat you for lunch.
I'm afraid of that man.
Me too.
I'm very afraid of that man. So let's get to it, Doug. The one thing we can say for certain is the 7 matches you will be seeing, and you're going to be seeing some title changes because of the 7 matches that are currently scheduled, 6 are for championships. And the only exception, ironically, is probably one of the matches that most people are looking forward to seeing. It's one of the things they're going to hang their hat on, and it's the only one not for a title. So at the Two Bros Wrestling Show, we respect championships. So I say, even though this is not going to be the opener, let's start with the one match that isn't for a title, Doug. This is very likely closer to the midway point, right before like maybe something of a come down match, because I don't see it main eventing, but it's got to be somewhere. I mean, I guess they could open with it. Sometimes they open with one of your big matches, but I don't know. This is a biggie, man.
I think it has potential to be main event. I really do. I mean, we've seen
even over the title matches.
over both over both like your unified and your world title defenses. Yeah, overall, I think so. I
Well,
really
let's
do
talk
because
about it then.
I think this feud is just that hot.
It is probably the hottest match as far as the build goes because you have not two men involved in this. There's a third
Yes,
aspect to this in your special guest referee of Seth freaking Rollins with the most ridiculous referee outfit you will ever
you
see.
call it ridiculous. I call it epic.
Oh, it
I,
was epic for sure, but I loved
I
every bit of it.
I stand by my claim that he shows up every week like some sort of weird anime villain every week.
So CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. First, let's talk about that wild card element of Seth freaking Rollins. Obviously, Seth has his problem with both men. So, do you think that the problems he has nullifies one another and he calls it down the middle, or do you think Seth will be somehow involved in the finish?
This is a very hard one to call because I think Seth could be involved in the finish. Seth will be physical in the match somehow. I'm just not. I haven't got my brain wrapped around how all this is going to work though, because these are three really hot guys. That didn't really sound right. It is what it
Hey,
is.
man.
These three
Yeah,
are really hot guys, and
cool. Why not?
any of them could go over, even though one of them's not really wrestling; he's just refereeing. But yeah, in my mind, and I don't know how this works yet, but in my mind, Drew has got to go over at this point because CM Punk, time after time, and we've talked about this
Get the best
before,
of it.
he's got the best of them. So now it's time for the babyface to get his comeuppance at with the heel finally going over. It's just been so oddly booked anyway. I don't know. It's not
So
really a babyface heel kind of situation anyway.
I
It's
like the build that they've done to it. I think that it is the hottest match on the card as far as what fans probably want to see. I
sure.
think the problem is that because of CM Punk's checkered health history, he's
Right.
not really been able to get physical in the build up to this match.
Yep.
Now that he is cleared, okay, let's level set. Like it feels like Punk's been around WWE for a while now, which at this point he has. This is his first pay-per-view singles match since his return because of how quickly he was injured. So there's one train of thought that says that a big star like CM Punk coming in, the hot baby face, finally gets that singles match, and it's your second biggest show of the year. He's got to go over. But I'm with you. I think that at every turn, CM Punk has got the better of Drew McIntyre. And unless you just want to bury Drew
Right.
completely, at some point, Drew has to get the best of CM Punk. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
eventually we'll see CM Punk pin the big Scotsman. Yes. Will it happen at SummerSlam? I wouldn't book it that way. I would love to see Drew McIntyre actually defeat CM Punk here. Fans
Mm-hmm.
are still going to be nuts for CM Punk. He's still CM Punk. He can come back from it. I don't know how much you could keep rubbing salt in Drew McIntyre's wounds
Right.
and
Yeah.
expect him to be worth anything in the fans' eyes.
Absolutely. And you do bring up a good point. Punk has pretty much been glass since he returned to wrestling. I mean, he shows up in AEW, he's out. He's injured. He's getting in fights. He's injured. He jumps over a rope and breaks a foot or whatever happened to him there. He's out again. He shows up in WWE, he rips something, tears something, and he's out again. I mean, he
And
is
if you wanted to give Punk an out, you do have that wild card of Seth Rollins that
yes.
even though he absolutely hates Drew McIntyre, I think in real life he might legitimately hate CM Punk, and much of the world knows that. There's a big match there waiting to happen, regardless if CM Punk wins or loses. Drew McIntyre could maybe move on for a little while because this has been elongated because of the injury angles. This has happened for a while, but yeah, I don't think that CM Punk should go over. They could book it that way, but I'm going for Drew with you.
I mean, I guess you could get the unintentional Punk ref bump. Ref takes it the wrong way, takes Punk out or whatever. puts Drew in a opportune situation where he goes ahead and does that thing where he's complained about in the past, being the heel. He gets the win that way. Punk, and like you say, Punk's not going to lose anything, and it builds for a
No.
feud with Rollins. That's probably the safest way to book it for everybody.
Now, if that is the way that they book it, do you think it comes on a little earlier?
I still think it might. I still think it's main event, man. I really
Okay.
do think that's main event. What should be the first match?
Although that's not necessarily the as they used to call it, the curtain jerker match is
Right.
not really the way they book pay-per-views anymore. Sometimes one of your main matches will start the show off to get the crowd hot to begin with. So
Yes,
it'll be interesting to watch the order of the matches that take place this weekend,
it really
especially
will.
where there's so many title matches.
Because just looking at all this, it would make sense maybe for Logan Paul, also from Cleveland, right? An LA Knight to maybe open up things. That's a good pop to get things started. A good mid level. Yeah, see, thumbs up. A good mid level championship to get things
Let's
going.
go there then.
Because,
Let's
like you
go
say,
there. Let's talk about that one.
everything is up for a swap here. So,
You're going
man,
to see a couple of title changes, and I have to say, this is going to be one of them. I do believe that Logan
yeah,
Paul, I mean, we've talked on the show before. He is not a celebrity wrestler at this point. When he's in the ring, you see the performance level is up to the speed of what you would expect from a
yes,
WWE superstar. That said, he does have a lot of irons in the fire and other commitments. We don't see a whole lot of Logan Paul outside of like vignettes that he sends in. It's like 200 and some days he's been champion. He's had 2 title defenses.
and that's just it. I think that now's the good time to pull that trigger. He's had it like you say, 200 some days. It's a good time to move it on to like a full timer. And LA
yeah.
Knight, come on, man, give him something. Come on.
LA Knight has been outside of Cody Rhodes and maybe like Seth and Jay or something. Outside of those 3, like he's as over as anybody in the company and has been for a good long while, despite not really having a juicy storyline to sink his teeth into.
Mm-hmm.
Ascending to a United States title, I think, is the perfect spot to elevate LA Knight and reward him for being the megastar that he has become over the last year and a half.
And he's got himself over. So come on.
Totally.
It's time. Yeah.
Time. So this is one we're agreeing upon for a title switch. I think that this next one, Doug, we will probably agree upon will not be a title switch. Or I could be wrong. Maybe you see it differently. But as a singles match for the WWE Women's Championship, we have your champion Bayley defending against Nia Jax. And maybe it's just my bias against Nia Jax, but
if it is, it's mine as well. No,
I just don't see Nia as the champion over Bayley at this point in time. It was such a feel-good moment for Bayley when she won at WrestleMania. And I think that whoever dethrones her, it's still in the future, and it won't be at SummerSlam, and it won't be Nia Jax.
Nah, it's going to be like a returning Charlotte at some point.
Who is doing work down in NXT. I should have probably put that in the news. Still months away, reportedly, but she is back in a performance center ring. So I agree with you. There are bigger things and bigger matches. And that is not a slam on Nia Jax. It's just this will be a good mid card match, I'm sure, and just a obstacle and a feather in the cap of Bayley building a championship resume.
Yeah, I would perfectly book this as Charlotte coming back at Royal Rumble, then going after Bayley, WrestleMania, and you keep that belt on Bayley till then. But that's just me.
Okay, so with our opening match, we talked wild card. Before I move on from this match, maybe we should mention that there is possibly a wild card to play here, and that is that Nia Jax's new bestie, Tiffany Stratton, holds a certain briefcase, but I don't think it's time for that yet.
It's not Tiffy time yet. No, not yet.
I think
we might get it. We might get it. Sorry,
a tease.
Yeah, I think we'll get a tease. I think they've been kind of road testing that already anyway. You know, the tease, the botch. Oh nope, no, I'm just not going to do it then. Never mind, kind of thing. So
So here's something I didn't realize until I read earlier today, and that is in the history of Money in the Bank. On the women's side, there has never been a female winner. I know they haven't had as many as they have had men, but there has yet to be a female winner that that held on to that briefcase longer than SummerSlam. Most of them
really,
cashed in either the night of or within days of. And as we saw, like I believe, last year we had a cash in at SummerSlam, but no woman has done what the men have traditionally done, and that's hang it over the head of your champion for an entire year. I think Tiffany Stratton
but
would be the perfect option to do that.
I think she would. And, we are now in the Paul Levesque era. So, new management.
And I think that it means something to hold that briefcase,
Yes.
especially for a young talent like Tiffany Stratton, who maybe is not quite yet time for her to ascend to a title. It's almost equivalent of a title that you can carry around and give you a storyline. And we don't have a men's this year. That one's already been taken off the board. So if you want a
Right.
Money in the Bank contract storyline at play for the rest of the year, it needs to be on the women's side. And I think Tiffany is the perfect heel to run that for months and months.
And it continues to build awareness to the casual fans who are in and out and aren't that aren't watching us tonight on a Tuesday night.
Yep. Agree. And we might be in agreement on this next one, Doug, because I'm smelling a title change with this one. I love Sami Zayn as your Intercontinental Champion. But Braun Breaker, unlike Tiffy, who is not quite yet Tiffy time, it has been Braun Breaker time for a long time. I'm actually was surprised when the last pay-per-view, they did not pull that trigger. I think at this stage of Braun Breaker's career, Sammy's getting towards the end of his career as an upper card guy, a title holder. He's been a good champion. Sammy will always be an over baby face. This will be a heck of a match, but Braun Breaker is going to break Sami Zayn and then just break all kinds of people with a monster Intercontinental Championship reign.
Man, I couldn't agree more. I was very shocked when they didn't pull this trigger earlier with Braun and Sammy, but I kind of get it now. They're giving Braun a even bigger win on a bigger pay-per-view or premium live event to, just push him that much further over, make him that much more of a monster, make him that much more of a heel by, going after Sammy again and again and again and just wearing, everybody's underdog down. And we got lots of thumbs up flying tonight.
It's because you and I are in constant agreement. It's just thumbs up, thumbs up. Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that much like we were talking earlier, where Drew just absolutely needs the win, that it does a lot of damage to Braun if you let him this early in his run as a monster get beat twice in a row?
Oh, yeah, because what kind of monster really is he then?
I mean, it's easy to say, hey, I'm overconfident. I slipped up the one time.
Right.
And obviously he's lost his mind over it and continues to torture Sammy and all of Sammy's friends. But now he's got to deliver on that with, menace and a victory.
Yes, he absolutely does, unless they just want to squash him. And I don't know why Triple H would do that, and just bury him. But,
at 26 years old with the future he has, that'd be ridiculous.
The beast that he is with the pedigree that he has. Yeah, no, it's his time.
It is his. That's right. Thumbs up.
Right.
So, Doug, we are all the way almost here. Just 3 more matches to preview. Are we going to disagree? I think that if we do, this might be one of the chances we do to disagree. Let's talk Liv Morgan defending her women's world championship against Mommy Rhea Ripley, who is back.
Mommy is back.
What say you?
this one's a difficult one for me because mommy is back. Mommy needs to come and get her belt and have things play out. But there's the Booker, the swerve Booker in me that wants to flip things and have Dom cost her the match somehow. And then Dom is with Liv all along, and then Liv kind of works her way into Judgment Day as Rhea becomes full on solo babyface. I'm not
Darn
exactly
you.
sure how all of it works out, but that's kind of maybe what I see happening.
Well, I thought for sure we'd disagree because conventional wisdom says Rhea Ripley is going to come back and squash little tiny Liv Morgan. I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
I just don't. I think that there's a couple of reasons why I think it doesn't happen, because regardless of the outcome on Saturday night, I don't think that there is anyone out there who doesn't know that Rhea Ripley is the biggest female star in WWE. So she doesn't need the win. Liv Morgan, however, this is her second go around as champion. Her first one was cut pretty short. She hasn't had that title all that long. To cut her short again kind of defines her down. You have a chance to make her here, especially if you have her be a conniving actress who, to your point, was in on it all along with her secret lover, Dominic Mysterio, and Rhea is cost the match. She doesn't just straight up lose, but she is cost the match by Dom somehow. Liv holds onto the title. We start to not only to see the dissension of the relationship between Dominic and Rhea Ripley, but we also, I think Judgment Day, as great as it's been, is probably about to run its course as well. And Rhea Ripley is, a very intimidating wrestler who spent most of this run as a heel, but obviously in this scenario, she's a face, whereas Damian Priest is a heel and Finn Balor is a heel and Dom is hated by everyone. So it's time for Rhea to break off as that baby face, and you got to break up the relationship, and Dirty Dom doing the dirty deed with
and everybody loves to hate Dom anyway. So
it's so fun.
It just all works, and the longer the mullet gets, the greater he is, really.
And I think that this would give Rhea a big storyline that doesn't revolve around the world title for a while, and Liv can go on to her next opponent while Rhea either breaks away from the Judgment Day or just breaks Dom, or moves on to that side of the storyline. But I think for now, it would be a mistake for WWE to pull the trigger on Rhea winning as soon as she comes back. Let's tease this out longer.
I agree.
So we may not disagree on anything. I thought that'd be the one that we might disagree on. This next one, though, is tough for me. So maybe there's a disagreement here.
We might disagree on this one if we're going. Where are we going next? Which championship are we going after next year?
So I think that because all things Bloodline are of utmost importance, I think that will main event. So I think that maybe we talk Damian Priest defending his World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther.
I think it's going to be a bad night for not the Bloodline, but for Judgment Day. I think
we're not disagreeing, man. We're not disagreeing.
Because it's time for Gunther. I think Priest is, it has been floating around in this babyface kind of zone too. And if people are leaving or we're going to overhaul Judgment Day, it's time for some new leadership there and to take away the two functioning heads of the unit, which would be Rhea, full on babyface, Priest, babyface, maybe tweener, move him to something else. I don't know. Gunther does not need the help to go in and take this belt. The ring general, it's just the ring general's time too.
If there is any wrestler out there that looks like a dominant world champion, it's Gunther. If you want just a no frills, bad dude that will dissect you, chop you, stretch you, hurt you, he is the ultimate monster heel without being like cartoonish. Like he's not like, this big muscle, but he is just he's a ring general, right? I mean, it's
Yes,
exactly
that's
what
it.
he is. He's perfectly suited to be the world champion. And I do think that because of his intercontinental title reign that he had, he has built himself up to that main event level. I think there's more money and more opponents and people trying to dethrone the monster the same way that they were able to get such life out of the intercontinental title reign.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could do that. And it's nothing against Damian Priest.
No.
There's been some, criticism of his title reign because of, some in-ring botches, which, happen to anyone. But I do think that maybe he's been a little hamstrung by the Judgment Day storyline, distracting in
Mm-hmm.
some ways. You got
Yep.
the, Carlito goofiness, and then Damien sometimes like an instigator in the like he seems like he's playing second fiddle in the Judgment Day, and he's supposed to be the
Right.
top
Yeah.
guy on
And
his brand.
we all know the top guys were in Judgment Day.
And she is, and maybe
Yeah.
that's the storyline. Maybe it's a
Right.
fight for Judgment, the soul of Judgment
Oh,
Day, because
like
I mean, Judgment Day has been a real interesting faction. For the longest time, they took a backseat to the Bloodline business. But when you look at the longevity and all the storylines that have been generated out of it, it has been a really solid run for them. I just think it's coming to an end because you got two alpha stars in there.
mm-hmm.
The one of which, who is really the bigger star, is not your world champion. And I think if, as part of this implosion of what needs to come next for the Judgment Day, it has to also include Damian Priest somehow losing his title, even if that means that he calls, and blames it on a distraction, even because of
Yeah.
all the other nonsense going on. I'm fine for that. I do think that Gunther needs to be that champion, and I think that Damian Priest will find his way with his talent and his age. He'll find his way back to that title at some point. I just don't know that this run doesn't need to be cut short here with Gunther, and then Gunther go on a long run.
Yeah, we are so far in lockstep, and we are probably not going to disagree on what's next.
It's an interesting booking for what's next, though, isn't it? Though, because in
It
some
is.
ways,
I'm not sure how you get to the end, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I know what the end is. I'm just not sure how you get there this time.
undisputed WWE champion Cody Rhodes taking on Solo Sikoa. Cody, obviously your champion. Cody had the moment of all moments, one of the all-time great WrestleMania moments, and that was not even 100 days ago. So it is too early for that goodwill and that baby face of the company title reign to go away just yet. On the other hand, Solo is the up-and-coming face of the bloodline, and so he does need a win, but he can't get it. It's got to be Cody. So maybe this match doesn't close, but I also think that WWE loves to send fans home happy. So having your babyface win in your main event would be one way of doing that. But I don't know how they get there either. But it's got to be Cody.
I don't know how they get there unless I'm not sure when Roman's coming back. I would think this would be a great time for Roman to show back up and cost Solo. But, I've definitely heard that Rock is finished with his movie now.
There's two possibilities for comebacks.
So, Rock could show up, but is Rock going to cost Cody's? If he's going to cost anybody, I would imagine that would be Solo, unless Rock thinks that, so I don't know. How do you get there?
Rock obviously has some unfinished business that he has with Cody Rhodes. But he may also take offense to the way that the younger generation of his family are acting like they are the head of the family. So,
right. Or,
I do think because it's SummerSlam, this is the second biggest premium live event WWE hosts outside of WrestleMania. Don't you think that fans will be somewhat disappointed if we don't get at least one of those two men coming back as part of all of this? That's got
Yeah,
to be a big surprise for that stadium is either Rock or Roman Reigns.
we have to get something like that, or we get Roman with Jimmy and Jay, and then Rock comes out, and I'm like Patton Oswalt on Parks and Recreation all of a sudden booking this thing. But I don't know. And then we got Hikuleu, coming out, and Zilla Fatu from the dropping from the rafters, and then there's Thanos snapping. I mean, I don't know.
I think this is all reason why this one will close, just because there's so many moving parts possible for this that you can have a Cody victory that also is tied into a giant pop return that sends everyone home happy with both the victor and the surprise, and gives Solo a out that isn't him just being pinned straight up by Cody. The obvious choice would be Roman. Roman is the more likely of the two, even though both are available. I think that they might hold that Rock surprise until a later date, because as you said, who would he even go after? Last we saw, he was, making Cody Rhodes bleed. So it makes way more sense for Roman Reigns to have the personal grudge against Solo right now, even if it does mean helping his WrestleMania opponent secure the victory here. It's going to be quite the pop to see Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes standing side by side on the same side, sharing a ring. But I think that is where we'll ultimately get. Will they do that at SummerSlam?
Do we
we'll
get to see Homelander and Aquaman standing side by side then?
It very well may happen in a stadium in Cleveland on Saturday. Doug, we will be talking all about it on Sunday.
Indeed, we will. Big finish time.
Let's hit that big finish now that we've previewed thoroughly SummerSlam without disagreeing once. Let's see if we can fight some in this in our big finish. What do you say?
We probably can here a little bit because, I tell you, well, I even hate to start with the botch tonight because, I'm a big AEW fanboy, right? Huge AEW fanboy. I'm really just wrestling in general, but I'm so sick and tired of 7-star wrestlers in trash matches. So tired of it. Yeah. You had a good rib more than once about me totally popping when the Rainmaker shows up in Charleston, West Virginia. And now he's in like this garbage match. Granted, he didn't do enough, but was it Kota Ibushi in like this crap last year where he's riding around on a bicycle whacking people in the head? This whole thing was just a ridiculous botch as far as I'm concerned. A lot of people liked it, and if that's your thing, hey, that's cool. That's your thing. People like the Acolyte too. Not judging. If that's your thing, that's your thing. I did not like it. I think the whole thing was a botch. It just was clunky. At the end with Darby setting Jungle Boy on fire. No, stop it. Just stop it. There are easier ways to get there.
This is absolutely hilarious. My botch of the week is the Blood and Guts match from last week's Dynamite. Right here in my notes. Absolutely. I mean, you said it, man. It's just in a vacuum. I could have watched this match and go, that was insane. There was some amazing spots there. That was like some, dangerous crap they pulled off, and it was entertaining. And in a vacuum, it is. It's just Tony does these all the freaking time. It's a random Wednesday. I mean, it's not even a premium live event. It's not like he saves this for like a big Hell in a Cell once a year, Elimination Chamber once a year, like WWE does. I mean, WWE eventually learned that less is more with some of these things, but he has the multi-person garbage match. It feels like twice a week. I know it's not, but I mean, he can't even wait till once a pay-per-view. He will have them that often. And it's just like, I'm honestly desensitized to it. I'm sitting there watching it going, okay, yep, that probably was too risky. They shouldn't have done that, but I'm not reacting to it because I'm just over it.
You're almost numb to it because honestly, it was a very busy week for me. So, but I know I watched Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown didn't catch Collision or Rampage, and even caught and caught Raw last night. But I can't tell you any other thing that happened last week, but other than blood and guts, and it was terrible, and I did not like it, and I thought it was crap, and I just kept thinking somewhere John Moxley is home flipping over tables right now because he's not involved in this. And he is super mad that he doesn't get a bleed all over the place.
I can't believe I missed that in my my news story. John Moxley has been granted time off. If you're wondering why he wasn't in it, because there's I mean, it's like Joe Hendry. You speak his name and he shows up. Like you have a blood and guts match, John Moxley should just appear, but he's actually been granted time off. So good for him for not being part of this.
Yeah, because he is a serious team player. He is team AEW through and through. He has went above and beyond for this company when they've had their CM punkisms and things in the past. So good for him, and good for him for not bleeding all over the place for a week and let somebody else do it. But you get so dumb to it. It's like, oh, I said dumb, but I meant numb, but you understand what I mean. I think I got a little dumber because of it.
I think it's dumb that we have to have 5 of these a month. I think that's definitely dumb. If you want us to care about it again or worry that maybe Jack Perry or someone is going to actually die, maybe let's save it for once a year and not do it. I mean, didn't we just set Jack Perry on fire? Do we have to threaten doing it again? It's ridiculous. Yes. It's just too much. Too much. Dial it back, Tony Khan.
I'm waiting for a Hangman to cut open, swerve again and start drinking his blood. I was like, I've seen it before. I'm done. I'm numb. I'm dumb.
He's numb and dumb.
I'm numb and dumb, and that's my botch, man, and yours too. So
yeah, it is.
Continues.
I'm going to guess that performer/performance of the week is going to differ.
You know what? Like I said, I can't even tell you anything that happened in wrestling the rest of the week because of this blood and guts nonsense. But something that does stick out in this sea of just like people bleeding and barbed wire and gasoline is Punk and Drew. And I'm going to say Drew McIntyre for your, and it's also actually AEW related, but for your social media post, it's a real photo. Get over it. Cry Me a River with Jack Perry. That is classic trolling. You are a god among men, Drew McIntyre.
It's maybe wrong to say that you and I picked Drew as a winner earlier just because we want to see him beat CM Punk.
No, I know.
I mean, there's part of me that wants to see him get the best of Punk just because Punk, despite being the face and all this, is so legitimately dislikable that when Drew pulls out a line like that, you just go, yeah, right?
And just to be, hanging out with Jack Perry and post it on social media. I mean, clearly it's a very different, it's the Paul Levesque era. We've covered that here on the show. It's a very different era where you can acknowledge things now. So
love it.
Absolutely love it. But Drew McIntyre, my performer of the week.
So first time we're going to not disagree, but at least diverge because for my performance of the week, I'm going someplace that I don't think have ever gone on this show before, and that is to WoW and the women of wrestling. We don't talk about
World of Warcraft. It's not wrestling, dude.
It's a different podcast.
Exactly.
We don't talk much about WoW on here, but I do watch it most weeks, and I want to call out that little J Boogie from WoW. She had her boombox destroyed by Top Tier. It's unfortunate, and it's so simple and actually just so absurd a storyline that it probably leans closer to being a botch territory in any other week, but I just could not help but smile at the nod to a simpler time in wrestling. Before you had to do setting people on fire in order to get attention, right? I thought back to 1982 in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling when Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant had his boombox destroyed by the House of Humperdinck. And then all of Jimmy's friends, they got together. Wahoo McDaniel put in $10. Ricky Steamboat put in some money. They all got together and presented Jimmy with a new boombox. to which brought him to tears because the man just loves his music so much. And then, of course, I think it was Sergeant Slaughter or some other, they destroyed that one too. And so then he was, just all distraught. And I have to say that, again, it is ridiculous that is a storyline in WoW right now. But I don't know if it was intentional or not. But for some reason, it just brought me back. It happened at the right time in the right place. So props to WoW for that homage, intentional or not. Put a smile on my face. We just love the music, man. Boogie Woogie,
Indeed.
Little J Boogie, they all just want to dance and enjoy themselves. And all these awful heels out there just trying to take it away by smashing a $20 cassette player.
Evil heels. And well done, calling on the House of Humperdinch. I applaud you, my friend.
Man, was the House of Humperdinch not great? Man?
I love that.
I love
them. Yeah, you gave me the creepies,
And maybe it is just in comparison to what we were just talking about. But after you do watch people get set on fire and everything else to the point, and you're not reacting, seeing someone distraught over having their boombox smashed as a storylining, it seems so simple.
So simple. You're right.
Compared to, where we have come, that where Tony Khan sometimes feels like we have to go to get a reaction. Like, if you tell the story the right way, you don't have to go that far.
You don't leave your audience numb and dumb either.
Don't leave them numb and dumb. But we're going to be leaving our audience after we talk about our match of the week, Doug. We got one more to go in the 1, 2, 3 here.
So seriously, I have no recollection of anything other than like right before we came on live, I did catch this 6-woman thing on NXT with Saul Ruka, my new favorite wrestler of all time this weekend. I don't think I have not been the devoted fan of NXT that I once was when it was back in the Golden Black days. I know you keep turning me on to it. Every time I watch, I really like what I see. I loved what I saw tonight. I couldn't tell you any of these other girls in this match, but for just this 6-man Saul Ruka, I learned her name quickly and I was amazed by that. And for nothing else, that's my match of the week. Those 6 women who did their thing.
And I told Doug before we came on air, he has yet to see Saul Ruka's finisher because she did not use it in this match. Wait till he sees that. If he's a fan now, it will blow his mind if you've not seen that. I'm actually pivoting from my notes. I had sketched out here Hologram versus the Beast Mortos from Collision, which was an incredible match. And then I watched NXT right before we came on air, and the main event of Roxanne Perez defending her title against Thea Hale was the best thing I've seen in wrestling since our last episode. The women of NXT, I've said this on this show before, I believe it's still to be true. The best women's division in all of wrestling is NXT, and they are sneakily turning into a female promotion. The last 3 matches on tonight's Great American Bash were female contests. The angle that they ran between those matches was with Kalani, who is the North American champion, who is one of my absolute favorites right now. Not involved in any of the 3 matches. That was like the into the main event storyline backstage segment. Like Shawn Michaels is killing it in general at NXT. The ladies of NXT are absolutely killing it. As if, you see the Tiffany Strattons come up in the world as ready as she is. There are a lot of her caliber down in NXT right now. They could start their own female promotion, and it would go over like gangbusters. But kudos to all the women working on NXT tonight. And mine is definitely Roxanne and Thea Hale in that main event. Go see it if you haven't.
Absolutely. I've been, it's summertime. I've got kids in and out of the house. I got a lot going on. It's just a busy house this time of year. So I didn't get to watch all of NXT that I wanted to tonight or would like to, but, I can always go back to catch the replays after everybody's asleep because, yay, insomnia. But
yay, insomnia.
It has its advantages. What I did see, I was definitely impressed, and I did get to see the entirety of that 6-woman and all those girls, bringing it. The opening match with the tag team, with the tag titles, that finisher those two girls have in the yellow and black that aren't Striper, but they're you know what I'm talking about, right? But
It was a great episode, top to bottom, and you see scrolling across the bottom are future episodes. Well, we don't go all the way out into the fall, but once the fall hits, Doug, when the kids are maybe back in
yes,
school,
yes,
we
actually, just a few
have
more weeks till that.
we have a show coming up in September. We talked a couple weeks back about the Triple H era. We're going to talk about the Shawn Michaels era of NXT.
Oh,
So
I
we'll
like it.
give Doug a chance to catch up
Yes,
and
I've got
watch
homework.
some episodes and get his homework in, because I want to talk about. And Doug would be a perfect judge of that as an old school NXT fan like myself, as to where we started back in the black and yellow days, where we fell to, and then all the work that HBK is doing. Triple H gets all kinds of credit, deservedly so, for a turnaround in WWE, but there is a turnaround that's happened in NXT too. We're going to be talking about that in a future episode. But before we get to any of that, Doug, the schedule below is where we're going first, and it starts on Sunday after SummerSlam.
SummerSlam. Oh, there it is. There it is.
SummerSlam. Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, live here on Facebook, and then, of course, archived on both Facebook and our YouTube channels. However you watch, we appreciate you watching, and thank you for hanging with us.
Thank you. Now go watch some wrestling. NXT